This month, the New York Public Library honored German novelist Daniel Kehlmann, along with a very distinguished group of other writers. Bruce Springsteen, Shonda Rhimes, James McBride, Louise Erdrich, and James Patterson. The Library Lions Prize recognized Kehlmann's breadth of work, from his global bestseller to his latest, The Director, an historical fiction based on the life of a pioneering 20th century filmmaker. It's being praised on both sides of the Atlantic for its prescient connection to our times.
At the Museum of the Moving Image in Queens last month, a film nearly a century old is back on the big screen. 1929's Diary of a Lost Girl, the work of Austrian filmmaker G.W. Pabst.
I wanted to write a novel about, not just about him in general, about this period in his life.
And in his latest book, The Director, author Daniel Kehlmann does both.
I wanted to write a novel set in the 20s, in the era of silent movies, when Germany became so influential and important.
I mean, we're talking major, directors that immigrated from Germany over to America. Wilder, Preminger.
Yes, and G.W. Pabst.
Known for both his style and substance, Pabst is also credited for pioneering in shooting and editing, and making stars of the likes of screen icon Greta Garbo.
With Austria proclaimed forever the property of Nazi Germany, Adolf Hitler hurries back to Berlin.
But when the winds of war swept through Europe, he escaped to Hollywood.
He went into exile, he made a film, wanted nothing to do with the Nazis, and the film did very poorly in Hollywood. They didn't treat him well. And then he went back to Nazi Germany and made films for the Ministry of Propaganda. I was so fascinated in that story. I thought, I've never heard anything like that. And I felt it's a story not just about filmmaking, but also about life in a dictatorship.
Suspected of being both Jewish and a communist, it was Pabst's cinematic reputation that just may have saved him.
If you're a famous liberal leftist director, you don't just enter Nazi Germany without some assurance that they're not going to arrest you.
And they called him Red Pabst.
Yes.
There was some...
So he must have known that they wouldn't just throw him in prison. Pabst took a breath, but the minister interrupted before he could speak.
For Kehlmann, the question remained, why would he become a pawn of the Third Reich? Consider this scene in the book between a fictionalized version of Pabst.
I have no intention of making any more films. Wrong answer, said the minister.
And Nazi propaganda minister Joseph Goebbels.
Now it would be good if the right answer came. Consider what I can offer you. For example, a concentration camp.
And so begins the director's descent into Germany's manipulative movie-making machine.
Any film you want to make, you can make.
An industry that has long inspired him. Kehlmann's father acted and directed in films for Austrian television.
He was a great storyteller, so he kept telling me stories about what it was like.
Michael Kehlmann also survived the Holocaust.
He got arrested when he was 17 in the last year of the war, and he was put in a concentration camp for 3 months. So that's another reason why I feel actually quite a strong inner connection to that story, because I'm one of the few people in my generation with a parent who was actually in a Nazi concentration camp.
Born in Munich, he now lives part-time in Berlin. Kehlmann grew up during the Cold War in a divided Germany.
This is Brandenburg Gate. This is the symbol of all of Germany, and especially it's the symbol of the unified Germany. I feel it's an image that's deep in my soul about how barriers break down, how borders can break down, and how dictatorships don't prevail.
But Kehlmann's literary interests go far beyond politics. His books have been translated into more than 40 languages.
Thank you so much.
Kehlmann splits his time between Berlin and New York with his teenage son and his wife, an international human rights lawyer who grew up under East Germany's communist rule. For them, this subject feels very personal.
She sees a lot of what she experienced in her childhood in the GDR happening in America now.
A lot of people would disagree.
I mean, what I would say to that is it really depends where and who you are. For us, visa holders, free speech is practically suspended. Our lawyers are telling us, be very careful, they can take away your visa, so don't go to demonstrations. Don't say, for example, what I just said to you.
Why are you saying what you just said?
Because someone has to. Someone has to.
He wrote the book, he says, to show that in a dictatorship, there's no such thing as innocent human interaction, something G.W. Pabst learned firsthand.
At first he wants to delay things, and then he realizes that actually the Nazis do give him a lot of opportunities. And so with this old argument, any sacrifice of moral nature is okay if it produces great art, he actually takes those resources and tries to make good movies.
I mean, is there a lesson here of G.W. Pabst in today's world?
I think so. When you are about to make a moral compromise, it never presents itself to you as the big pact with the devil. It is a road of really small steps that will lead to hell. So the one thing we learn from his story is you have to not compromise very early when you still have the opportunity to say no.
He truly delves into subject matter that interests him, and it's sometimes obscure and nonsensical how he gets to the characters that he chooses. But in this book, it fell right into place for him.
And so many important things that he's saying there, and to your point in the piece, that he's been told not even to say right now because he's a visa holder. Great piece, Michelle. Really great.
Thank you.